Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. Michelle in review. Michelle in review. Who's here with me?
It's Michelle, and it's my review.
Good.
Yeah.
It's real good that it's Michelle. If it wasn't Michelle, frankly, I don't know how we would pull off Michelle in review. It would be a fraud. It would be an utter facade of nonsense.
If anyone else ever tries to do this and I'm not here, just know that's a bootleg me. There's only one me.
Bootleg Michelle.
Thank God. If there was a second me, I would not be friends with her. We would have clashing energy.
You don't think you would be one of those people who's like, oh, it's so helpful for there to be another me. They can do half the things that I do.
No, because the other me would want to do the same things that I like doing, and then we'd fight over who gets to do the things that neither of us want to do. And the things that I like doing, I already do.
I was going to say either that or you would both just still try to do all the things. Yeah, so.
Yeah, exactly. But then we'd be like super productive in areas that we don't need productivity.
So, as you can tell, we've clearly that's not a word, we've dived right into the therapy portion of this show. If it's your first time tuning in, hi, glad to have you here. Michelle and I do this sometimes. We get our wonkies out, chatting about our lives. My life is a disaster. It's not a disaster. I shouldn't say that. I need to maintain a level of sanity, but I quit my job. You guys ever just walk out on a shitty job? Man, it feels good until the next morning, let me tell you.
Yeah, been there.
But, you know, it is what it is. It was for the best. I should have been looking for something else to do and trying to move on a long time ago. I have a lot of irons in the fire already. But man, what a fucking week it's been. It's been, I'll be honest with you, like 10 years ago, JD had kind of a reputation for just walking the fuck out on jobs, but I hadn't done it in a minute. And this one, well, I guess that's not even true. I walked out of the job I worked with Aaron because JD doesn't tolerate people being shitty at to each other at their jobs, and doesn't deal with people saying, oh, you have to just give it time and trust the process when people are being assholes. And so I don't have a good temperament for working with other people, and I have to talk to my therapist about it immediately. I see her on Monday, my psychiatrist, and then we'll go talk to somebody about it. But if you tuned into this episode for horror chat and you were like, what the fuck is happening?
Therapy
Welcome
portion.
To the team.
Therapy portion. We have to do it every time.
And it's going to happen where it happens, right? Sometimes it's way at the end. Sometimes it just explodes in the middle. Today we had to talk about it right away because sometimes therapy is more important than horror.
Well, I don't know about that, but on the plus side,
I said it and I was immediately like that. Let's not go too far here.
On the plus side, it does mean that we can probably get all our Spooktober episodes out on time. Because
absolutely. Because
now you got some free time.
My weekends are open again, so that we can. This is gonna be a good time.
Not this weekend, but next weekend I can record a lot.
It's September 30th. Spooktober starts tomorrow, and we only have half of our Spooktober episodes recorded. In fact, just slightly less than half, because there are 27 of them, and we have 13 done. And we've got a couple in the can that we've literally. Excuse me. Oh, my God. My throat just about died there for a minute. We have a couple that we have been trying on and off to get done for, what is it now, Michelle? 3 weeks?
Weeks and weeks. We were doing so well, and now we've fallen into the trap that we did not the previous two Spooktobers, where we probably are going to have to record basically an episode every day in Spooktober. We have to actually do it the way that the challenge was designed. And that's scary. That's so scary.
only about half the month. Oh, man, we're 5 minutes into the podcast and the dog is already losing his mind. This is going to be a fun evening.
Dog needs
fun
therapy.
Times.
Riley has a lot of anxiety.
The dog needs incredible therapy. We tried getting him one of them thunder shirts. That didn't help.
Oh, no.
Put in a whole thing of like dog pheromones and whatnot. That didn't help. This dog is just he's a head case. I think my dog is the dog version of me, which is my dog is the kind of person where you're like, like we were saying that the other day, it's like, sometimes you have to just let the emotion have its run for a few minutes and then just move along from there. And I'm just like, yeah, but fucking how? How do you make it stop? It doesn't ever stop. What how do you turn that? You can turn parts of your brain off? Fuck, what's that like? And I feel like my dog is kind of the same version of that. So,
we need to get you a Thunder shirt, JD. Do they make those for people?
I think that's the equivalent of like a weighted blanket.
Ooh, those things are comfy. It doesn't do anything for my anxiety, but it's really comfortable.
All right. Well, Michelle, I tell you what, we're going to pause right here while I go figure out what the fuck this dog is losing his mind about, and I'll be right back to continue, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Give me just a couple of minutes. Oh.
Surprise guest. You look like you're being held hostage to record this episode right now. He is.
I am. So there was a big jump there that you guys didn't hear, but I am in fact being held hostage by a dog. We have to start doing this on video, Michelle, so people can see how adorable our annoying fucking pets are.
This is why, luckily, mine can be locked out and leave me alone for a little bit, but sometimes one sneaks in here and I don't realize it until we are halfway through recording. And then
Riley's
screaming.
he's the kind of jerk who will just yell until you go find out, and then he just stops and looks at you.
It's like you have a really small husky. They're a yelling dog.
Yeah, he's a yeller. Anyway, so we're here for Michelle in review. We had the therapy portion. We had the bitch about our pets portion. Let's talk some fucking horror movies, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
I do want to say really quickly, though, Michelle, because you pointed it out to me this morning, and I thought it was super, super cool. And I'm pulling it up right now to make sure I get the name.
Was it the tweet?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't read it on my screen. Michelle, do you have a bigger version on your screen? Push that beat. At push that beat. Sky Riley. At push that beat. We watch Shudder. We watch The Substance is a 10 out of 10 episode. God damn, that feels good. Thanks. Yeah. At push that beat. You're a 10 out of 10 fan.
That's so nice because we have had constant issues this summer. And to know that something we put out, which didn't even have the best audio because you were working from your headset, and that was still like, oh, we might have finally gotten it down a little bit, maybe. Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, that felt really good, especially in a week where I've been having real shitty time, like quitting my job and all that fun stuff. Yeah. So this is Michelle in review. Yeah, if you guys are, again, if this is your first time listening, God bless you. I thank you for tolerating what we've been through already. But this is our monthly episode where Michelle gets to just brag and brag and brag about her insatiable appetite for horror consumption and the kind of insane numbers of movies that, frankly, they're insane numbers because only insane people watch that many movies, and Michelle is one of them. Prepare to be amazed by the amount of content this woman consumes. It blows me away. What are we talking about today, Michelle? Review us.
We're talking about a lot of things. I do have to say, so I keep a log of my movies. I'm now almost a year into starting to do this because mid-Spooktober last year, I decided I wanted to start seeing how much I actually watched each time, because I watched the Saw series twice in a span of 2 months, and then like another half of it a couple months later. I was curious, outside of Saw, how many movies do I watch? And I have set a goal of watching 60 movies a month. Over the last year, I have hit that every time. There have been some close calls a couple times, but I've hit it. September was the first time I did not. I got close, but I did start going to college again, and apparently college takes up a lot of my usual horror movie watching time. So there's that factor. I went to Colorado for 4 days and did not watch many movies, watched a couple while I was there. And I helped run a party room at a convention. So lots of free time spent actually living my life, and that sucks. So total, I watched 57 things. Yes, JD.
I think the solution is clear, Michelle, and that is you very definitely just need to quit college again.
No, I want a bachelor's. Nobody in my family has one.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there's probably a lot of things that nobody has in your family that would be much easier to get than a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, the murder conviction is next, but it's going to be harder to get my bachelor's degree in prison, so I got to do them in order.
Oh, I don't know that it would be so hard to get your bachelor's in prison. I think that's actually a pretty easy process if you're committed to it.
Well, geez, okay. I guess I went no. For the record, I am getting my murder conviction, but I'm also going to be the first person in my family to get falsely convicted for murder. It's not a crime I committed. I'm just going to go tamper with a lot of evidence someplace and knock both of those out.
Right. Michelle doesn't want to be a murderer, but she does want to be held accountable for a murder she did not commit. And I think that's a very admirable thing to aspire to. I think so.
I think so too. I want to be held accountable for someone else's actions.
You know
because
what
my
I
own
want?
actions I've never held accountable for. Yes.
In a similar fashion, I don't want to be a murder victim, but I very much want somebody to want to murder me.
Oh, well done. Check that off your list.
Wait a minute.
You're the one I'm going to be falsely accused of murdering.
Is it falsely, Michelle?
Well, I'm not the one murdering you.
Are you sure? Because
I
it
hired
sounds
a
like you
hitman.
might. Oh, okay.
So-
well, Michelle, if you
Yes.
hired the killer, that's still murder.
Wow,
Just because you
that's-
didn't pull the trigger.
That's a gray area.
Charles Manson didn't kill a single person. Like he didn't physically cause any deaths. He's still a murderer.
Oh my God, you compared me to Charles Manson? That's the nicest thing anybody has ever said to me.
Well, I said you could potentially be like Charles Manson when
Going
you
to be.
denied that you would be a murderer.
Well, on to the media.
Yeah, so that's this is how it goes. Let's talk
Yep.
about some shit. Michelle, remind me
Yes.
what order we talk about things in on these episodes now. Do we start with the news?
Yes, so we are
That's
going
a
to
good
go.
place to start.
It is. So we're going with news. I do need to just
Much better
update.
than starting with the olds.
Well, yes. Yes, it is. Oh, because
I don't know what's going on right
the
now.
news,
Please go
the
ahead.
olds. Oh my God. Okay, it took me a minute. Okay. To finish wrapping up my summary of September though, because then we got into a whole thing of how you think I should quit college, and maybe now I do need to bust that around a little bit. But the total numbers, 0 books, outside of my textbook for college, which I'm not counting. 52 movies, 5 miniseries. But 2 of those miniseries were In the Eye of the Storm and Chimp Crazy, so I definitely went for quality over quantity this month. Chimp Crazy, it's pretty crazy. Do you know Chimp Crazy, JD?
Is that the thing on Max that's kind of like Tiger King but with chimps?
Yep, same guy who made Tiger King, except he had to do a director by proxy because nobody in the exotic animal kingdom wanted to work with him after Tiger King. So he basically had somebody else undercover, and then he was telling him what to do. And yeah, it's about Missouri. And I have a non-binary sibling who lives down in Missouri, so I sent them like hey, did you know about this whole thing that went on like very close to where you live? And they were fascinated by things they did not know about their neighbors. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of it because it's just, I didn't ever see any of Tiger King either. It's not really my vibe. But I caught a bit of it because my mom started watching it one morning, and I think she made it about an episode and a half in, and she was like, this is not fun at all, and just turned it off and never went back to it.
Oh, she didn't even get to see the crime scene photos from Travis the Chimp. And I knew a lot about Travis the Chimp, but I did not see those photos before.
Well, Mom is not really a crime scene photos kind of person, Michelle.
Okay,
so
well, she probably turned it off.
at the right
a
time.
point.
I promise you she did.
Yeah.
Okay, so news.
First off, some kind of personal news. We watched Shudder. I'm scared to tell people this is out there, but I did make my spreadsheet of upcoming horror movie releases public on the site. It is under the tab IMDb, And that is because I am calling it my IMDb list, aka the I might be depressed list. Because when
You should call it my MDB.
No.
Aw, come on.
No. No. It's IMDb. Funny. No.
Oh, well, fine. If you insist on the I might be depressed list, I guess I can allow it.
I do. I'm very scared about this being out there because I'm not happy with how it appears on the website currently, but I'm also not great at coding. And I would like to eventually reach a point where anybody who logs in, they have the ability to filter and hopefully maybe even save stuff they've seen. I don't know. I've got some ideas for it, but I'm not good at coding. I'm doing what I can. Hey. So it's basically a Google Sheet right now. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
This could be fun.
Oh no.
Are you out there listening and are kind of good at coding and you want to help some folks out? Drop us an email. mail@wewatchshutter.com. That'd be pretty dope. Because we don't know shit about websites.
Well, I know some shit. I do not know shit about how to make this work, and I'm very frustrated by it. Oh, and I don't think a Google Sheet is the way to do it, but it's frustrating me.
I apologize, Michelle. I thought I forgot to tell you that I've started referring to myself as we.
Oh, good.
Now
another thing you should talk to your psychiatrist about.
Yeah. Not as like a personal pronouns thing, as in like there's more than anyway. Yeah, you're right. Let's leave that for the therapist. Let's talk more about you, Michelle.
Yeah, so more news. Not a ton of big news outside of like some things I've been looking for, got some release dates, but there were a couple things that I did want to add to the discussion today. So first one, there is a movie called The Waves of Madness that had a trailer drop. It is the first side-scrolling adventure horror film. So when you think of like video games, side-scrolling platformers, this horror movie is made in that style.
All right, what's the title?
It's called The Waves of Madness.
All right, you keep talking. I'm going to go watch it.
It is a Jason Trost film. I had seen All Superheroes Must Die, which is another movie that Jason had made, and I really enjoyed it. It has really bad ratings, and I think the reviews all have some very good points, but overall I liked it. It was pretty dark. I do wish that the plot wasn't so superficial, and that seemed to be a lot of people's problems with it, but I thought it was fun. And then he has another movie called The FP, which is basically dystopian future meets DDR. Oh, have you seen it?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I do a quick tangent here? Tell you what, go ahead, finish your news bit, and then I gotta talk about the FP.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, the FP, we will circle back to that, but that's the guy who's making this The Waves of Madness film.
I recognize him in the video here for sure.
Sweet. Okay, go ahead and talk about the FP for a little bit, because I have a completely separate thing for the next news bit.
This is actually a fun story about 10 years ago. I believe the FP came out in
2011.
2011. Okay. So at that time, I believe Alamo Drafthouse was involved in the release of that film to some extent. And there was a marketing group that was doing this thing where they were trying to find people to be partners in different cities to help arrange screenings of the FP. And I actually had been talking to these folks about trying to liaison between them and the Marcus theaters here in town. I think they were still CEC theaters at that time. They may have been Marcus. I don't remember. But so it was a thing that I had started talking with them about, and we had begun the process of figuring things out. And then I went to jail for 3 weeks for violating my probation for not completing my treatment program. And it never happened. And then I finally saw the movie on Netflix like 2 years later.
Well, I'm glad you got to watch it eventually.
It was the last time I ever went to jail, and it was like 12, 13 years ago, so it's not like I'm ashamed of it anymore. But
that's so long, though.
20 days. Yeah, 20 days.
Oof. I've never even been like
It
pulled
was
over when I was driving, my anxiety I would just start crying and they'd think I was guilty of anything.
I got work release, so that was cool. I didn't,
Yeah.
I got to go out and earn a living still, but
Good.
yeah. Anyway, that was my FP story. I haven't heard the name of the FP in forever, and it's weird how, like, as soon as you mentioned it, like I said, I recognized the guy immediately. By the way, that trailer, I didn't even get the audio for it, but it looks dope as fuck. Thanks for putting that on my radar.
Yeah, it is definitely not going to be the highest quality version of what this could be, but it will be the first time I've seen something like this. And as people know, or maybe you don't, maybe you skip some of the episodes or you're just tuning in for the first time. I love video games. So anytime there is anything related to video game and movie crossover, I love it. Well, somewhat. We'll talk about Borderlands in a little bit, but for the most part, I like the concept of video games and movies meeting. But all right, on to my next one. House on Haunted Hill is getting its newest remake. They are doing it in a style similar to Ghostwatch or Late Night with the Devil. So from the IMDb description, on October 31st, 1978, the blah 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 channel team investigated the infamous Hill House on live TV with dire results. The broadcast was banned and never seen again until now. I really like that style of movie, so for that reason, I'm excited about it. But writer-director David Ferguson, they did the remake of Spider Baby, or The Maddest Story Ever Told, which did get good reviews. I haven't had the opportunity to see it yet. But then in just the last couple of years, their other work includes things like Space Sharks, reviewed 1.5 on IMDb, Demonoids from Hell, which has a 2.8, Mega Ape, which has a 2.2, and Cocaine Cougar, which has a 1.5. So I have a lot of mixed feelings about how this is going to turn out, but I hope it's more like the quality stuff. I hate like gigantic animal movie attacks humans in a low budget way. I don't like that. I know it appeals to a lot of people, but seeing that as most of the recent work, just oh man, I hope it's good. So that's coming out.
Just to be clear here, Michelle, because I think I misunderstood. Is it House on Haunted Hill or The Haunting of Hill House?
House on Haunted Hill.
All right, cool.
Completely different from
the William
Haunting of Hill
Castle
House.
film.
Yes, that has been remade many, many times.
Yeah, Rob Zombie used a sample for it at the beginning of one of the songs on Astro Creep. It's been in my head since I was a teenager, and the line is, "Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen." It's Vincent Price, The House on Haunted Hill.
I don't remember that line. I think I've seen most of the iterations of House on Haunted Hill, so that makes me excited but nervous. Yeah.
I might now be thinking of The Haunting.
Oh, no, I think you're talking about House on Haunted Hill, because I think The Haunting is also based on the original novel of on Haunted Hill, unless I'm also screwing it up.
Let's see. Yeah, The Haunting is based on The Haunting of Hill House. And Vincent Price is not in that one, so you are correct. It was the House on Haunted Hill.
House on Haunted Hill. Yes.
Then that is what that is from, because it's his voice that says it. Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't. Maybe that isn't Vincent Price at all.
That is.
Maybe it's. Oh my God! What's going on in my memory is complete. Michelle, you need to talk about more stuff. I need to solve this mystery immediately.
I am trying to talk about more stuff. You go have a meltdown. I will move on to my next one. This is also news. So I've been 28 Days Later is probably my favorite horror movie of all time. It's not the movie that I would say is the best horror movie of all time, quality-wise, or any of that, but I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I've seen it tons of time. It is my Christmas movie. That's a whole story. So 28 Days Later, great. 28 Weeks Later, fine. I didn't hate it. And now 28 years later, it's finally coming out in June 2025. What I recently learned, and might not have been a thing that, like, it might not be news to everybody, but it is news to me, and I'm feeling some type of way about it, is that the movie was shot on iPhones and cameras strapped to animals. And the way that they said this made it feel like it might be a found footage style movie, or else that the majority was done on iPhones. I'm hoping it's just certain parts of it. Like Takashi Miike had that 15-minute iPhone commercial that was actually really good. So that's fine. But when I heard like that was a whole article about how it's shot on iPhones, that makes me really worried about this. Yes, JD.
Well, I'm not sure if this is the movie in question, Michelle. But there's actually been things circulating recently that I've seen on social media, like just in the last few days, where some people are talking generically about, oh yeah, we just shot the movie using an iPhone, and then they have a photo of the production, like behind the scenes, and it's an iPhone, but then there's like a $10,000 lens attached to it, and all these other extra. It's like an extra. God who knows how much equipment that's attached to the iPhone. The iPhone is really just the capture device.
Well,
So
that's
I don't.
bizarre.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was because, like I said, I don't know if that's this movie that they were reacting to or what.
I
But
hope
it's the same thing.
because I'm
like-
nervous about that.
Well, you shouldn't be. Steven Soderbergh famously shot like Unsane, and I think Kimi was shot on entirely on iPhones. He's done, and again, I think it was one of those setups where yeah, it was an iPhone, but there was all this other fancy gadget attached to it. But yeah, anytime I hear somebody say it was all shot on iPhones, I get where that worry comes from, but I don't know. I think it's something that people like to use as a gimmick for marketing because they don't mention all the other stuff that they attach to their iPhone.
yeah, and it worked because I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
That's a little more reassuring. But yeah, anyway, 28 years later, it comes out in 2025, June, 3 days before my birthday, June 20th. My birthday gift is going to be 28 years later.
Ooh.
So I'm going to be partying for that one for sure. That's what I got for news. Next would be my series. Do you have news,
Do it.
JD? Okay.
No, Michelle, you have all of the news.
I do have a lot of
Always.
news. Okay, so my series that I watched for September, I had to make it a short one, which means that the series has to be at least 3 movies, and I went with one that has 3 movies. And I watched all the A Quiet Place films. They're all available on Paramount Plus. Gonna keep this very, very spoiler light. It's gonna be hard to talk about one of them without spoiling, but I'm gonna do it. Just people who have seen the first one will have to understand my coded language. But A Quiet Place Day 1 is actually the one that I watched first, just because it was the newest one. I love Lupita Nyong'o. Had just seen her Hot Ones right before I watched A Quiet Place Day 1, so check that out. And I know that the A Quiet Place films are dramas, but oh man, that movie is very, very, very sad. I don't know if I want to watch it again because it was very sad, and I was not mentally prepared for that level of sadness. Very good, but I think where the other ones felt like light drama, but with a lot of monsters, this one I didn't even care about the monsters. I cared about these relationships that were happening and these backstories, and it's a real bummer. It's a good movie, but it is a real bummer. So if you're like, I'm gonna put on this thing with aliens attacking people, it's not that kind of movie.
Gotcha.
It's sad. It's heavy. Other people might not think it's as heavy. I think it just hit a couple points that made me feel very sad about it. So then I watched A Quiet Place again. I hadn't seen it probably since its release here. I think I've seen it twice because the second time was right before A Quiet Place Part 2 came out. And here's what I'm going to say. A Quiet Place Part 2, fucking hate that movie. I hate it. I hate it so much. Here's how I'm going to keep this spoiler light. The characters from the first movie, the second movie, A Quiet Place Part 2, starts right at the end of A Quiet Place Part 1. Like it shows you the ending shot of Part 1 and then continues from there. And these people go to seek help and immediately act very aggressively towards the guy that they try to find help for and are like, why didn't you come save us? And they're like, you're not as good as our father. What's your problem? And they're just so awful to him. And I find it to be bullshit. They seem to be way better off than this guy that they go to ask help from. And it seems to be like all of a sudden they're damsels in distress, and they're not. And it really pissed me off and made it so that I could not enjoy the other part of the movie. Just because that's such a strong position to take at the beginning that I disagreed with wholeheartedly, that they just tried to like demonize this other guy because they're like, why didn't you come save us? And I'm like, you guys were better off than him. What are you doing? It was bizarre. The second half of that movie is great, but I just cannot get past the setup so much. It's one of those where something happens in a movie and it ruins it so much for you that you cannot enjoy it. So if they took out all of that dialogue and replaced it with something else, I probably would have really liked A Quiet Place Part 2. But it infuriates me, the attitude that these people have. And yeah, if anybody else feels that way about it, please let me know. If you like it, you don't have to tell me. I know a lot of people like it. I know that this is not popular opinion. I went to it like opening weekend and all my friends enjoyed it, but I was so irritated with the behavior of the characters. I could not get past it. And when I was like, oh man, rewatch A Quiet Place and all of those movies for September, I'm glad that I remembered how much I really, really despise it because that's still true. Oh man, it irritated me. And I can't talk about it in detail without spoiling a lot of big things, but it's an annoying position to take, and how dare they?
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of those films, so I have no input on them whatsoever. I guess to be fair, I saw a little bit I think I saw maybe like the first 20 minutes of the first film once, but no, I've never seen any of the Quiet Place films.
I think you should watch them.
That's the I know Emily Blunt is in it, but
And
that
John
dude from The
Krasinski.
Office, yeah, he's the guy who like wrote and directed it.
Yep, and that's Emily Blunt's husband.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So they're good movies, but the way that they start off part 2 is so irritating. And I can't get past it. But outside of that, very good. Very sad. Sad movies. But also hopeful at times. Yeah.
I did find out, by the way, the Rob Zombie or the White Zombie song I was thinking of is called Supercharger Heaven. And I was correct. The quote is, look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen. But in fact, it is from the 1963 film The Haunting, so it absolutely is not a Vincent Price quote. And I could have swore it was. I think the guy who says it is basically like a bunko Vincent Price. Like, I think he was trying to do like a Vincent Price impersonation, maybe. I don't know. But
I'm really glad you clarified. I would not have been able to sleep. I would have been up late at night being like, was it Vincent Price?
It wasn't. It was The Haunting.
Thank God. That would truly be the thing that haunted me, was trying to figure out was it Vincent Price or not.
Do you know who made The Haunting?
A ghost.
Robert Wise. You know what else Robert Wise made?
Any relation to Robert Dumb?
Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, you're not going to tell me what Robert Wise made?
Not now.
No, I don't. Joke's on you. I have the internet. Hang on. Robert Wise.
He also made
Sound of Music.
The Sound of Music and West Side Story and
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Much
and,
better than his brother Robert
Audrey
Dumb.
Rose. He also made
just made
Star
fart
Trek:
noises.
The Motion Picture. Like the very first Star Trek film, he directed that, which, by the way, is a great film, but also kind of a cheap knockoff of 2001: A Space Odyssey. We don't need to talk about it. This isn't a Star Trek podcast. Please continue, Michelle.
Maybe it should be. Okay, on to recent horror. Okay, we're gonna go through these pretty quickly because I don't want to spoil anything I'm about to talk about. First off, The Substance. We have a whole episode about it. The more I talk about it, yeah, the more that I talk about it, the more it is my favorite movie of the year. I have also convinced several friends to go see it, including friends who do not like horror movies. And getting their messages afterwards has been a delight. Every day I have been bombarded from messages, or with messages from a friend being like, what the fuck? That's how every single message has started off, with some variation of what the fuck. Every single one, not exaggerating. 4 people have started their messages to me about The Substance with what the fuck. And that's pretty great.
I mean, that's pretty much the only way you can start a conversation about that film, I think.
Yeah. So The Substance, if you haven't seen it yet, go correct that. A universally beloved film. I love it. I love it. It is high quality. I love it. And then go listen to our episode about it where I do a 12-minute recap because I got a little carried away with it.
It was a monumental moment of Michelle recap, you guys.
I really, really liked it.
It is, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, pretty intense. Kind of like the movie itself. Next, I watched Channing Tatum's Blink Twice, originally named Pussy Island, and I think they did a really good job of renaming it because Blink Twice has a coded message. Pussy Island was a little too on the nose. Basically, Channing Tatum is a rich boy who had a lot of accusations against him, and now he's all reformed, and he's like billionaire rich. Like, this is a very, very powerful man, and he owns an island, and he meets a woman at an art gallery or some sort of gala that he's a part of. And he invites her out to the island with him and a bunch of friends to just hang out and do drugs and be rich and have a carefree life. And then that carefree life doesn't seem so carefree. And then things start slipping and you start figuring out what's actually happening. I will say there's going to be some stuff that's a little too heavy for people in here of what the reveal is. But overall, really, really enjoyed it. It wasn't too heavy for me, but I'm a fucked up human, so...
When you say for people in here, do you mean like you and me? Are you casually saying I probably won't be able to deal with this?
Oh, I don't think I said in here. I think I mispronounced something. I
may have misheard something.
I did say in here. I did not mean to. I don't think you'll find it particularly triggering.
Blink Twice is the name of that film. I didn't even know that was the Spookums.
Yeah, it's more horror adjacent. Thriller, fucked up kind, but yeah, definitely counts as horror/horror adjacent. I think what happens in it is horrifying, and so that counts for me.
Gotcha.
Also, like, if you have drug trips in a movie, generally they'll be able to cross that line, and that does it. That does it pretty well.
Have you ever seen a movie called All Jacked Up and Full of Worms?
Yes, that was on Screambox, I think, for a while.
It sure was. I'm pretty sure I know what that movie's all about, but we'll talk about that another time.
Oh, jeez Louise. All right, my next one. This came out on Netflix this month, but I've been on an Indonesian horror creator kick, so of course I had to check out Joko Anwar's latest Netflix film, Grave Torture. Basically, trying to sum up the concept of it, it's that instead of being tortured in real life, you'll be tortured from the grave because you're such a terrible person. That's what you deserve. If we had to sum up the general idea.
So, hell.
You would think, but it's worse. It's an even worse afterlife.
Worse than hell.
Hell, I imagine you would have time to rest.
Oh, I don't think you know much about hell then, Michelle.
Well, it depends on the circle. I'm going to the 17th circle of hell where it's the level of napping. And you're just perpetually sleeping. I'm a very sleepy girl.
I would like to point out, Michelle, that the 9 circles of hell was a creation of Dante Alighieri and has no basis in theology whatsoever. I would also like to point out that...
I also rewatched The House That Jack Built, so now I'm very familiar with Dante again.
Yeah, you know what else is hell isn't real. But anyway.
Wow. Well, Grave Torture
continue.
My one thing, and I think I'm going to say this every time I see one of his movies, is that it's too long.
Dill pickle!
What the fuck, JD? What?
I'm having a weird night, Michelle.
What does that have to do with Grave Torture and Joko Anwar? Did you see a pickle? What's going on?
I'm eating dill potato salad.
Oh my god.
I don't know why that happened, Michelle. I'm sorry.
so confused. I thought you were correcting one of the words I mispronounced because I'm so bad at pronounce. That was like Choco Anwar is pronounced dill pickle. What did I do?
No, I don't know. I think that was the thing that I intended to just shout in my brain. And then my mouth said, no, we want to join that party.
You're like, oh no. Dill pickle potato salad is one of my least favorite things. It ruins a perfectly good potato salad.
No, it's delicious.
I like pickles. I like potato salad. I don't want them touching.
It's so delicious. It made me shout dill pickle.
Good point. Good point. Maybe that's a particularly good one. But anyway, Grave Torture. It's an hour and 57 minutes. It did not need to be that long. Just, I'm looking forward to Indonesian creators continuing to be incredible and also cutting down the runtime of their movies. If they could do both of those things, they'd take over the world. But
they
really,
do be making long ass
They love
movies.
them so long. I think they're just like, you know what? And Indonesian horror has not been on the map for so long, so we have to start adding on to our runtime to start actually having like making up for some lost time. But you know what? My time was lost with the extra half hour of this movie.
I think maybe they just haven't been introduced to the concept of a story editor.
That's fair. But I love Choco Anwar. I've become a fan.
He's amazing.
In the last couple
Real
months.
talent. What's the other guy's name? Timo Gianto?
Yep, that is correct. And then my other one, kind of on the edge of recent horror versus older horror, because we do say that older horror is pre-COVID, because the world was a different place. Caveat came out in 2020. We watched Oddity on Friday when it dropped as a new Shudder release, so
Real
I had
dope
to go
film.
back.
Check it out.
Yeah, I had to go back and rewatch Caveat. And here's what I will say, very, very spoiler light, because I'm sure a lot of people will be going back to revisit Caveat. There's a rabbit in Caveat, and that he's a sassy little fucker. I love him. I could not help but just like, he wasn't creepy to me. Every time he would bang his little like cymbals together, or like drum, it was a drum. It just, it made me laugh a lot. He just does not like this man who's in his house. He's like, can you fucking leave? Like, he just seems so fun and like the abrasive friend that all of us need. Somebody who really like gets your back and stand up for you. I will say that both this and Oddity have unsatisfying endings to me that felt kind of anticlimactic. So now that I've seen two of their films, I kind of want to go see more and just see is like, do I love all these movies until the end? Because so far that seems to be the case. Yeah. Did you, probably not, but did you have a chance to go watch Caveat again, JD?
No, I didn't have that opportunity yet, but I do agree with you that Bunny is like, this bunny it's like the Energizer. If the Energizer bunny was like a homeless vagrant, right? Like it's
real scrumbly.
It's just it's real threadbare, real haggard. But and then it bangs cymbals together or what. Anyway, yeah. That's my abiding memory of Caveat, and I definitely, after seeing Oddity, still want to go back and see that again.
Yeah, it's definitely...
I also still...
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I also still need to go back and watch Revenge from Coralie Farjat, which I believe you also saw recently. Oh, yeah. Okay. I was trying to transition you right into it there, and then you said, we'll come to it later. And now
no, I mean, we could skip to that because that's all I had for recent.
Well, it's too late now. Oh, that's right. That's not a recent movie, I guess.
Oh. Yeah, so we'll use that as our jumping off point.
I actually do have a couple of things in recent horror that I'd like to mention, Michelle.
We can't talk about Revenge then.
Right.
Okay.
That's all right. I forgot where we were. No, there's a movie just recently dropped on Shudder called 8 Eyes. It's the directorial debut of a gentleman whose name escapes me right now, but he's the director of Last Drive-In with Joe Bob. Give me 2 seconds while I push this dog down on the floor.
Director Austin Jennings, writers Matthew Frank and Austin Jennings. So I'm assuming Austin Jennings is your...
Yes, Austin Jennings is the guy we're talking about. He directs all of the episodes of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob. This movie is awesome. It's shot on what looks like 16 millimeter. It's super grainy. It might be an older 35. I don't know. So be prepared. It's got a real 70s gritty kind of vibe to it. But after I saw this, I very much described it as what was it that I said? Oh, it's like a Euro trash Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And something I do love about it is it has that sort of like that same kind of feel that like a Rob Zombie movie or a Joe Bagos movie is going for, with that real retro kind of vibe. And it goes to some pretty uncomfortable places without becoming overly mean or depraved, really, in any way. I was really impressed by there are a couple of moments where I got real worried that this was going to become like the kind of uncomfortable that I don't enjoy. And it never got there. It does just enough to it gave me the willies. It's a really good film. I strongly suggest, especially if you're into kind of like a retro style film, give that one a look. Again, like Joe Bagos stuff or what have you. Have you seen that one yet?
I haven't. It is on my list. I will bump it up and try to get through it in October.
And then a couple of things that I did promise some folks I was going to talk about. I watched a movie at the Chicago Horror Film Festival earlier this year, a 3-minute short film called Demon. It's stylized. It's like a /DEMO_N. So it's about like a game demo. That's the setup for the whole thing. Just a very quick, like 3-minute, just one scenario short that the filmmaker Gary Roach just completed a feature-length adaptation of. They sort of took this idea and expanded it into a full story, and the movie is just starting to make its festival run. And I was granted an opportunity to take a look at that entire feature film, and I had a lot of fun with it. It is, I'll just tell you right away, if you do get a chance to see it at upcoming festivals, first of all, keep an eye out for it. It's about 75 minutes long. It's a quick, easy watch. You'll enjoy yourself. It is going to remind people right away of a movie that you and I both love, Michelle, called Host. Right, it's a similar setup in that it's centered around, I think in this it's a Google Meets thing, but it's centered around a Zoom call sort of situation. But it's its own animal, for sure. It's got some real quality spooky going on. There's some really interesting fun, like it's centered around a video game demo that has just like really cutesy, almost like Among Us type graphics, and it's just... It's really fun in a lot of ways, and I really appreciated how they expanded just this little 3-minute idea into a feature film. So if there are any horror film festivals around you, keep an eye out, and if they're playing Demon, again, /DEMO_N, I strongly suggest you go take a look at that. And then the other thing is a short film that I want to talk about, called A Drive at Dawn, also right now making its festival circuit, and so if there's a festival around you, keep an eye out for it. I won't tell you what kind of story, what kind of horror movie A Drive at Dawn is, because understanding that is part of a plot reveal, so I don't want to tell you that. This is like a 7-minute film, if memory serves, and what I loved about this is it manages to tell frankly, a pretty extreme, pretty heavy story without being incredibly graphic. It's a really excellent example of that thing we talk about in horror all the time, of letting the real horror happen in somebody's head when they put the pieces together, right? And I thought it was a real interesting spin on a very well visited horror trope and horror style, but I think people will enjoy it, and I strongly recommend, again, if you see it playing at a festival near you, go check it out. Again, it's called A Drive at Dawn, and that's all I wanted to talk about in the new horror, Michelle. Hey, I do, if you're listening, by the way, I do want to state right away, please don't take this as an invitation to just send me all of your short films and say, hey, can you watch my movie and talk about it on your show? hold on to it. We've got a film festival that we're putting together, and I will be sure to let you know when you can send it to us for that, for consideration. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I want to see your movies. I just want to see them at the right time.
Okay.
I'm not
Dill
good
pickle.
at saying. I'm not good at saying no. So if everybody just starts sending me their movies, then Michelle in Review is going to turn into JD talks about short films for the rest of his life. And I just, please understand, I don't need that to happen.
It's actually kind of a bummer that we did Michelle in Review actually at the end of the month instead of a couple days into it, because I had both of those, Demon and A Drive at Dawn, on my to watch list. And just
you should have told me.
No, I'm just saying, like, I have been swamped. It's also fundraising season, and so I will be enveloped by nonprofit work until January, and then I'll have a break until Giving Hearts Day in February. So I've just been too swamped, and I want to give them my full attention because they are short films, and you have to completely 110% pay attention and be in the mindset to watch that kind of thing. It's not like if your mind wanders, you have a second to recover. So I haven't watched them yet, but I'm also looking forward to both of those.
Yeah, and just quickly, shout out to God, I hope I pronounced this right, Joe DeVideo. He's a British-Italian writer-director. He made A Drive at Dawn. It actually played just this past weekend at the fall edition of the Chicago Horror Film Festival that unfortunately we weren't able to get back to, but I'm looking forward to hopefully getting back there next spring, maybe, if we can. Who knows? So shout out to Joe, and again, shout out to Gary Roche for hooking me up with the screener for the feature adaptation of Demon. They're looking for distribution for that, and I very much hope they get it. It's a good film, and I hope people get to see it.
How many times do you think Joe has had people make the joke that they are a movie creator with the name DeVideo?
I don't know, but I saw that, and it's like, for those of you, is D''OVIDIO, right? This is DeVideo, and I frankly, I think he should just start being professionally known as Joe the Video.
Yeah.
Or maybe even just Video Joe.
Video Joe. Joe, you listening? You hear that? Marketing
he
team.
listens, Michelle. He says he's a big fan of our podcast.
Well, everybody would say that if they want us to watch their movie. I don't believe that anybody can be a big fan of us.
Well, okay, fair.
Therapy portion.
Fair. We'll just leave that as it stands. But I wanted to say thanks to those guys.
Yeah, and I've seen your messages. JD's the one who responds to emails just because I let him do that. He's much better at writing, and I read everything, though, that comes in. And I keep him posted on the social media stuff. We kind of divvy it up that way. So yeah, I have also been paying attention. I just have not seen your things yet, and I want to. I promise I'm looking at them. They're in my inbox. They've been in my inbox since September 27th for one of them, for actually both of them. That's the most recent message. So I promise I will be watching both. I just have been very busy and crying a lot. Well, okay. On to older horror.
Now I'm just thinking about how much crying I've been doing lately. Thanks, Michelle, for the big reminder.
Therapy portion.
It's also many tears.
September is my really bad mental health month, but I got through it because August wound up being my bad mental health month instead. Okay. Older horror. I actually went out and found older horror because I know I've been kind of lacking on this some months, and I wanted to actually have a lot to watch and talk about. So that was my big focus. First off, Revenge. Coralie Fargeat. They're the one who made The Substance, and this was their last big movie. I totally thought I had seen this before, but now I'm realizing it is just part of the Shudder exclusive and original catalog, and I've only seen the image. I have never seen this movie. There is no way I would forget about it. It's not up to like The Substance or anything. Like, obviously that is ahead of it's insanely good. But movies that have this revenge plot of person gets hurt, person gets revenge, it's so played out that I feel like you have to really put an effort in to make it fresh and make it something I'm interested in watching for an umpteenth time. Surprisingly, this did that. I thought it was just going to be fairly generic and average, but I can see so much of what Coralie liked about how Revenge turned out and then took that and put in the substance. Lots of close-up shots of people eating with very loud sound effects to really emphasize how gross certain things are. Lots of blood. This is a very bloody movie. Acting's great. If you're into this kind of plot line, even a little bit, I think it's worth checking out. A person gets hurt, person comes back and is pretty pissed off about it. Revenge, and especially if you like the substance, you can see a lot of what she was inspired by, and even like some direct shots. Margaret Qualley's walking around in a shirt that says "I love LA" and cute little pink underwear in the substance, and that's the exact outfit of the girl in one scene. So it's pretty cool seeing not only this tribute to other horror movies in the substance, but her own horror movies. That's neat, and I like that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that a point?
I was just giving it a break. This is what happens when I give it a moment, just in case you do have something to respond. Then you don't. If I try to talk, then you yell dill pickle at me. We just are off. We're out of sync. Everything.
No, it's a movie that has been, I've been aware of it, again, because I had seen the image. I believe it had just been released and was kind of in a featured position when I had first subscribed to Shudder. Do you happen to know off the top of your head what the release date? Oh, 2017. So this was even
right
further back.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I hadn't seen it yet. I don't know anything about it. I was going to try and watch it before this episode, and of course I wasn't able to, just like with the other one that we were talking about not 10 minutes ago, and I can't even remember what the hell it is because this is my life now.
Blink twice, grave torture,
Caveat, that's the one. Anyway, no, I don't have shit to say. Let's move on.
Okay, sounds good.
This is a real good one.
Here's a thing that I'm just gonna put out on record. Megan is Missing from 2011. It's found footage, and it's also in a lot of disturbing movie lists. So I went, yeah, I've definitely seen that. I watched that. I had no memory of this place. You guys remember that? Gandalf, Lord of the Rings? That movie is super fucked up. And here's the problem. For an hour, it's a teen girl's vlog, which is like my least favorite thing to watch. So I had to sit through that. And then it takes a turn. It gets really fucked up in a way that I was not expecting and made me uncomfortable. And I think I found one of the few movies that hit a limit for me. Very, very rare.
God damn.
I know, very rare. And here's the thing. In comparison to other things I've watched, it's not even the most depraved thing. I think there's something about it, and I don't know what, and I don't really plan on rewatching it to find out what. But like, you know me, I own Salo. I've rewatched a Serbian film just to be like, oh, it's not that bad, right? Yeah. And then being like, no, it is that bad. And for some reason, Megan is Missing hit a sore spot. So yeah.
Oh, cool. So it's only available for on-demand rental, which means I don't have to watch it.
Oh.
I'm gonna pay.
Did I watch it on-demand rental? I probably did then.
No, it's a movie that I've heard plenty about, and I've seen it on several messed up movie lists, whatever, and I did obviously assume this is one you would have already seen. I haven't seen it. I just know it by reputation. Now, when you say, like, this got to a place that was uncomfortable for you, that interests me in two ways, and both ways are described by the same sentence, and it's all in the inflections. But I wanna know what was what's the place where Michelle doesn't want to go? Like, right? Like, I feel like I'm gonna be able to learn something about you by watching this movie, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I can tell you very briefly.
No, that's okay. I want to
okay.
watch the movie.
Okay.
I mean,
I
don't
think you'll
wanna
be
watch the
surprised
movie,
though,
but
by what it was. But yeah, it's yeah. If you ever watch it, we'll talk about it.
we'll see. I agree with you that I have seen several movies where that's the whole gimmick, right? Is like the first hour of the movie is
Teen
like
vlog.
nothing.
Yeah.
It's just nothing. I think that's why I appreciate there are definitely some found footage films that kind of get into it a little bit more quickly. Shall we say? They don't mess around a lot. The aforementioned Host, I think, was very much like that. It's an hour long. You get about 10 minutes up front of weirdness, and they kick right in. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that movie, hoping I never watch it again. It's not a bad movie at all. I'm not saying that. I have some ideas of what upset me about it, and it's not even anything like related to anything I've experienced in real life. I just found it gratuitous, even for things I like. I think part of it is the actresses they were like 18 and 19 when they made it. They look younger, and I think that I was like, this is too real for me.
Okay.
And yeah, it was it's not a bad movie, but goddamn.
Like even more than the Poughkeepsie tapes?
Yeah. Although this, I would say, similar to the Poughkeepsie tapes, I think the reason Poughkeepsie tapes, which even goes way further than Megan's Missing, I think Poughkeepsie tapes is fucked up throughout. So it's not this sudden jump that I wasn't expecting. And I think that's what did it. It was like, whoa, this has been really tame. And now we are in a territory I did not realize we were going to. I wasn't mentally prepared to go there. But I would actually say it's kind of similar to Poughkeepsie tapes. It's just Poughkeepsie tapes goes harder, but it does it throughout the movie. Suddenly jumping is what upset me about where it went. And then there's 3 particular parts where I was like, this is super fucked up. And I just watched a teen vlog for an hour to get to this. So, yeah. So, Megan's Missing. If you've seen it and want to talk about it, I would be curious to see other thoughts if you're out there. But wow, I actually found one of my few limits. I think I've got like 5 movies total on my limits list, and this is one of them.
So, while you were discussing that a bit further there, I decided to myself, honestly, if this is the kind of thing that even Michelle isn't interested in seeing, it's probably definitely not the kind of thing that I'm interested in seeing. So I jumped on Wikipedia to look at a summary of this, and I'm pretty sure I know exactly what part of this was too much for you.
We'll see, because
was it the food thing?
Nope.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, well then, yeah, we'll talk about it for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Megan's Missing. Crossed off my list. Never plan on watching again. I wouldn't even say I can't say it's not bad either, because it's a fucking teen vlog for a lot of it. And I already did that. I don't need to watch it, but then it takes a leap. And that's really upsetting. Then I revisited a movie that I really did not like, and I feel like I have a bigger appreciation for it now, even I wouldn't say that I like it necessarily. Tetsuo the Iron Man from 1989. I really hated this movie the first time I watched it. It was way too artsy and weird. I could not get into it. Artsy and weird is good sometimes, but real artsy and weird. This time I felt like maybe because I knew what I was getting myself into when I watched it, and I waited until a day of let's tackle Tetsuo. I can't say enjoy it, but I appreciate it more. I thought the effects were good. The sound is very upsetting. There's a lot of really campy, funny moments. I mean, if you aren't familiar with Tetsuo the Iron Man, it's a guy basically becoming an Iron Man. He has a drill for a dick, and that's the kind of movie that this is. He's just tormenting people with his drill dick. It is so weird. I cannot tell you that I understood it at all, but there were definitely parts that I didn't despise it. As in the way that I did the first time. I didn't like it. I didn't dislike it. It was just, okay, I get why somebody might like this. It's really, really weird. And it's a movie. I watched a movie. Okay, next, Strangeland from 1998.
D. Snyder's Strangeland?
I have no idea how this got on my watch list. I have
I'm shocked you'd never seen it.
No, and I don't know how it wound up on my September list. I have no memory of adding it there or who would have told me to watch this. If you're not familiar, Dee Snider from Twisted Sister wrote a movie called Strangeland. And he doesn't really play a serial killer. Instead, he's like a serial kidnapper, and he takes people and does extreme body modification on them. Like he takes a guy and he's like, we're gonna do this, I forgot the name of the penile piercing, but he's like, we have to pierce through the spongiosum and have to make sure to avoid these blood vessels. And it's all about like this guy who's so into extreme body modification that he has to do it on other people. And here's what I love about it. I will always love a movie from the late 90s, early 2000s with a huge focus on the internet, where they're like in a chat room being amazed that they can track down this guy and talk to him. And they're like, how did you do that? And she's like, well, I went to search and I found his name in there. And if I click his profile, it tells me where he lives. And that's just such basic Facebook sleuthing that if it's a movie where the internet helps solve a crime, I'm on board. And then Dee Snider being a guy who just forces body modification on people, it's so silly. Robert Englund's in this. Oh, God, yeah.
I think you're doing the whole world a disservice if you don't tell them what Dee Snider's character's name is.
Oh, fuck. I don't remember it.
Captain Howdy.
Captain Howdy. Yes, that was his screen name of Captain Howdy. Ugh.
WWE fans might find that interesting.
Yeah, it's a movie. It was fun.
There was a wrestler who unfortunately passed away recently who wrestled under the name of Bray Wyatt, and at one point there was I don't remember how it worked, if it was like an alter ego or something, but then there was another character named Captain Howdy, and I was like, oh, Strangeland, Dee Snider.
Perfect timing. Maybe that's why it popped up as a thing that I watched. Maybe that weird connection. But yeah, Strangeland, definitely strange. My next one.
R.I.P. Wyndham Rotunda, by the way.
All of that, what he said, times 2. My next one, The Shaft from 2001. It's about an elevator that kills people. I have no idea how this IMDb genre does not have comedy listed. It's so funny. It stars Naomi Watts. I adore Naomi Watts. She's one of my favorite horror movie icons. She just happens to be in all the movies that are remakes of other movies that I liked, which includes, oh my God, Funny Games, and Goodnight Mommy, and a whole bunch of others. But The Shaft is just, they're investigating an elevator that keeps killing people. It's, oh, you gotta see it. I'm not gonna tell you anything.
Where can I see it, Michelle? Where can I see The Shaft?
I think I watched this on Paramount. Let me confirm. 1 second. It was a Paramount heavy month because I already had Paramount up. So then when I stopped watching something on there, I would immediately just switch over to something else that was on my watch list and available. Oh, hang on. It's actually under the... Oh, no, it's on Shudder right now. I did watch this on Shudder.
Oh, no shit?
No shit.
Wow. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. You might have to look it up under the name Down. I have not been able to figure out which one it is. If it's Down or The Shaft, it seems to be used interchangeably.
Woot.
So, yeah, it's a great movie. It's an elevator. It kills people. It's pretty great. Then my next one, Raise from 2013, about 50 women who are kidnapped and have to kill each other with their bare hands until only one survives. Brutal movie. Really good fight scenes, really bizarre concept. The reason that they're doing this, like, they actually give you a reason. It doesn't just leave it incredibly open-ended, which always kind of, I'd prefer to be told at least a little bit. I really enjoyed this. It was just, I know it's sad because it's women kicking ass, but it's also women kicking ass, and I can't help but like that at least a little bit. So Raise, 2013. Raise the roof for that.
Woot!
Woot. And then my last one for older horror, The Loved Ones from 2009. I also don't know how this wound up on my radar for September, but
I'm surprised you
wow.
hadn't seen it yet.
I know. Me too, because that's super fucked up. My notes about this just say that I need more words to sum up something being dark, because I'm running out of words. The things I like are very dark and disturbing, and I don't know. I think I need less movies on my list that include those words, because I'm running out of ways to say it creatively. But it's about a guy who turns down a girl who invites him to their high school dance. So she kidnaps him, and her and her dad make him pay for how awful he is for doing that. It's also an Australian film, and so all the things people say, real Australian, and that's always a bonus. That'll add like a whole point to your score for me. Love the Australian accent.
Same guy who made that film The Devil's Candy that we did an episode about.
Mm-hmm. Same guy.
I didn't realize that was the same guy.
Yeah, definitely similar vibes as well. So yeah.
Except
that's it
more
for...
fucked up, from what I can tell.
Yeah. That's what I got for older horror. Do you have one for older horror before we do a quick non-horror recap?
No, not anything that's jumping to mind right away, so apparently not.
Okay, sounds good. So just a couple things in the non-horror section. One, Paprika from 2006. It's an animated movie. I had seen it once before. I remember loving it visually. Love the songs. The songs are incredibly catchy. I had no idea what the fuck it was about. So I was like, I'm going to go rewatch Paprika. I still have no idea what the fuck that movie is about. And I still enjoy it. I actually watched Paprika, and then I spent an afternoon watching people on YouTube explain to me what the fuck Paprika is about. And I get it a little bit more now. But it's a whole thing about like the creator's takes on surrealism. It has a lot to do with his other work. Lots of bizarre concepts that I am not close enough to understand. Here's what I'll say. It's real pretty to look at. It sounds good. I like the story. Paprika's pretty good. I like movies where I don't fucking get it, but I like it, and that's Paprika. That does mean that I started watching Paranoia Agent today, which is 13 episodes made by the same creator, and I've also never seen that. The creator of Paprika, I think they're also the one who did Perfect Blue, if I recall. So just lots of really beautiful, weird anime from that guy, and so I'm gonna go rewatch watch Paranoia Agent for the first time. Side note about Paranoia Agent. So my husband is part weeaboo. And if you're not familiar,
did you say part weeaboo?
Part weeaboo. He's not full weeaboo.
Wait, how is that possible?
He doesn't have a waifu pillow.
But does he only not have one because he knows you wouldn't let him get away with it, or
it's because he has an actual wife instead of a waifu?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that never stopped anybody, but okay.
Yeah, that's fair. He's part World of Warcraft nerd, part anime nerd. He switches between the two, and there's not much overlap. But he watches a lot of anime. He has a Crunchyroll subscription, and
Ooh.
I have occasionally hopped onto his Crunchyroll to watch things here and there, but yes.
I should probably not tell you that my friend Jeremiah Wheeler, who I've known since literally I was like 7 years old, works for Funimation Crunchyroll, should I?
Why not?
Because I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Like, don't tell John. He'll like make me ask. He'll make me ask him things.
He did get to meet some of the voice actors he really likes at the convention I was running a party room for, and they came into our party room. They're pretty cool.
I actually should hook those folks up. Your husband with my buddy Jeremiah. I bet they would get along really well.
Is he also part weeaboo?
I don't know if he's part weeaboo. I know that one time when I went to Texas when I worked for Games Workshop, he took me to this barbecue joint called Hard 8 and bought me like a $45 ribeye, and it was fucking delicious. I know that doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about right now, but all of a sudden I just got this incredible memory of that ribeye.
Well, I completely forgot everything I was going to say about Paprika, so I guess Oh, no. Here's my funny anecdote that I was in the middle of. Okay, let me try this again. Okay, so he has a Crunchyroll account. He has been watching anime very diligently for a year now. Just all of a sudden, I went to Albuquerque to help my friend Kristen move. I came home. He was obsessed with anime. And I was like, what? Were you with another woman and your other girlfriend likes anime and now you're into anime? What happened? He found some anime he liked and he's been just binging it for a while. Today I went on there to start Paranoia Agent. And I got an alert that his content settings had to be updated to allow for adult content. And so I was like, hey, husband, apparently the first time your Crunchyroll in a year has had something that is outside your current content settings is when your wife logged in for one of the rare times. And
That's
I changed
awesome.
that. I hope that you were okay with it.
That is just, knowing John, that is the most John thing.
He's just adorable. And he was like, how have some of the things that I've been watching not trip that? And I was like, I don't know, but it is now. Let's see what I'm about to watch. And then I watched the Borderlands movie. I won't say I
wish you hadn't.
I was about to say, I wouldn't say I regret watching the Borderlands movie. I do regret that they made the Borderlands movie. It lacks substance and depth, and that's so disappointing.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, some video game movies are good. But here's the thing, I didn't like any of the characters, and that made it hard for me to care about anything happening to them. They're all jaded assassins, essentially, and I felt kind of indifferent to their plight. They even made me dislike Claptrap, which is impossible, and how dare they? But I know Jack Black has not been great in recent months. But before that, I really liked Jack Black, and I really like Claptrap. So you'd think that combination would be pretty good. But
What's wrong with Jack Black?
Oh, he split up Tenacious D.
Oh, yeah, he split up Tenacious D because Kyle Gass had the audacity to crack a joke about killing Donald Trump, and that was just the funniest goddamn thing ever. And if you don't like that, I don't care. But I thought you were saying Jack Black was, like, in trouble himself.
Oh, no, it's just a real bummer. That's all.
Next time, don't miss. That's funny. Fuck off.
And Jack laughed at the time, but he's got to keep that Mario money. All right, then I've got...
You're not wrong. You got to keep that Mario money.
I've got two documentaries. One is a rewatch called 7852 from 2017. It is purely a lot of in-depth analysis of the shower scene from Psycho. It is various filmmakers and actors, and it's called that because I think it was 78 camera setups and 52 cuts. The full scene is like a minute and a half, and it's the thing everybody knows from that movie. It's been put into so much other work in various ways and influenced a lot, and it's this tiny, tiny little portion of it. And it is purely an analysis of that scene, and I love it. I've watched it twice now, and I find it really interesting, especially when they get into discussion of the sound design from that scene, and then, like, the camera spinning at the end and how hard that shot was, and it's really, really interesting. And also, like, how they got around the nudity, because there's not actually nudity, and there's not actually a knife going into her, but you think there is. Really, really interesting. You don't even have to have seen Psycho. If you like movie analysis, 7852 is a really cool movie.
That scene is legendary, obviously, for a number of reasons. First of all, as we can tell from this documentary, just an incredible piece of film production. But also, things you mentioned, the almost nudity, the simple fact that this was a scene taking place, like, while a person was taking a shower. Like, those kind of things were just not things you saw regularly in movies at this time. But that scene, it's like, I used to visit in the late 90s and early 2000s. I used to visit a heavy metal music message board with a fellow who was a regular on there, and his screen name was Shower Scene from Psycho, all one word. Like, this is after the world has forgotten Alfred Hitchcock, they will still remember the shower scene from Psycho.
Yep. It is great. And then my other documentary, it is a thing that, let's just say it's a special topic to me. A Glitch in the Matrix from 2021 is an entire documentary talking about how it's very likely that we are living in a simulation. Which is a thing that I am very interested in, theoretically. Here are my two big thoughts on it. One, I wish that Elon Musk was not the number one voice of reason for this. It was kind of neat seeing H.G. Wells. Oh my God, is that the name? Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Nope, not H.G. Wells.
That's Philip K. Dick.
Thank you, Philip K. Dick. I was like, I know I'm fucking up my sci-fi writers, but hearing his explanation of it was really cool. But they spend a lot of time focused on Elon Musk, and he's just a guy who didn't have like these big theories of it. I wish they had a bigger focal point about somebody who like spent their entire life talking about this. But so that's one takeaway. And my other thing is something that I found super interesting that they address very early on in the movie is that for basically the length of humanity, we have always described the brain's function as whatever our highest form of technology is at the time. So back when they were doing like the aqueducts, they said that the brain was like an aqueduct, and then they created computers and they said that the brain was a computer, and now we have VR, and so they're like the brain is a simulation. Humans will take whatever the most advanced part of our technology is and say that's our existence right there. And that, from that perspective, is really, really interesting and not a thing that I had been aware of, but now makes a lot of sense because that's the most fantastical thing we can think of. Like, virtual reality is insane and definitely like our biggest, like, most appealing thing. So it makes sense that people would say, well, that's like our brain's virtual reality then. And I don't know. That was my number one takeaway from it.
Yeah, and I think that's that's a natural progression in along with technology culturally, right? It's like, I mean, you can only see like video games and VR and things become so more and more realistic until it's just naturally going to occur to you, like, wait, if this. Like, how do I know any of this is actually happening if we can create a simulation that's entirely believable? Yeah, it's a fascinating thought process. I try not to think about it too much because I spend too much time thinking about that stuff and I start having nauseating panic attacks and it gets really weird.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I also have nauseating panic attacks about, but I've also become so fascinated with it that now it's just, if that's a topic that's discussed anywhere, I'm interested in it. And it's like a side project of mine where I'm just like, ooh, I want to go find out how life's a simulation.
That's interesting because as I have aged, those bouts have become way more severe.
Yeah, I guess to me, a simulation is no longer my biggest fear. My biggest fear is that I'm in a coma and going to wake up. That scares the shit out of me.
I don't mean specifically a simulation. I just mean like the big thoughts on like the nature of reality and what happens when you die and what is the nature of existence and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's horrifying and I can't comprehend it.
Yeah, why did we bother to bring it up? Please talk about movies again, Michelle.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say A Glitch in the Matrix. If you have Hulu and want to check it out, that's where you'll find it. Literature is my last section. And literature. The only thing that I read for the entirety of September was Processes, Systems, and Information, an Introduction to MIS. So I read that textbook. I took a lot of notes from it. Nobody wants to hear about that. But I'm back in college now, so that's probably going to be my literature for a while. I did make it a goal, especially after talking to my therapist on Wednesday, that I need to be more mindful meaning that I need to just sit and do one thing and have a single thought and push the other thoughts out. And so I am going to start reading more. I read one chapter of the book I've been on for a while, so I'll be working my way through that a little bit more, hopefully. And Mike keeps telling me I need to read the comics he lent me. The stack is gigantic, and he just wants to give me even more comics. So I'm really going to try to get through Saga. Back in July, I had an entire list for August of comics that I planned on reading. I read 0 of them. School is kicking my ass, but I love it. I'm a huge nerd. I'm learning a lot. I aced my algebra test on Friday. It was a good time.
Michelle.
Yep.
I have to once again point out, therapists, they're like, you just need to try to be more mindful. Set yourself and focus on one task and just push out all the other thoughts and focus on that one thing. And my reaction to that is the same as my reaction to so many other things therapists tell me, and that is, yeah, but fucking how?
Meditation. That's the
meditation.
thing.
Oh no. Meditation just makes me filled with horror.
Yeah, you have to get past that point and get to a point where it's peaceful. Meditation, real, that's the only thing that saved my life like 10 years ago. I was in a real bad spot.
Here's the thing, you don't ever have to learn how to swim if you don't give a fuck about going in the water.
Well, then you're just going to have multiple thoughts and not be mindful, which is fine if that's how you, but you're saying how, and I'm telling you, you have to reach a point where you have no thoughts so that then you can have a single thought on the one thing that you're doing. I'm getting back into meditation and all that woo-woo bullshit again, and I missed it. I love meditating because it's the only time my brain turns off. I'll say that. There will be more of that in the future, hopefully. I'm about to say something divisive, but I'm going to start reading up on chakras again. I know.
Well, I guess that's fine because I'm about to ask my doctor to get me started up on ketamine therapy, and I need to go talk to my man about whether or not I can get some more LSD for the first time in a year. So, we each got our own path, duality and shit.
Exactly. This is my path. I don't know if I necessarily believe it, but it does give me something to focus on that I really enjoy as a way to be mindful. So
you know what I believe in? I believe if I eat a couple of tabs of acid, I'm gonna have a good fucking day.
I've never done acid. I've never done any of the fun thing. Well, maybe off the record. We do. As a quick
dill
note,
pickle.
God damn it! Never mind. If this is what acid does to you,
I'm sorry. I made the dog bark.
Oh no. This Friday I will be in Duluth, Minnesota. I am going with Jenna, who never sees the movie Jenna. We are going to go to the Haunted Ship, and I got the VIP tickets, and I wanted to do it for a year and a half now. So we're gonna go do the Haunted Ship in Duluth. And the pictures I saw, it's just their big like Queen Mary ship that has tours regularly. But then they make it spooky for October. And one of the pictures was a bunch of body bags hanging from one of the cargo rooms. And it just looks real creepy. I'm terrified of the water. I'm terrified of ships. I did fine going through both haunted houses at the 13th floor in Denver. That was fine. But this is a ship. And what if the ship starts sinking and they're trying to tell me that and I'm not listening because I'm too busy panicking and then I actually drown and die? That's definitely a possibility. So yeah, that's I'm going to go do that on Friday and I'm very excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
Michelle, this dog is all of a sudden demanding that I have to take him to the bathroom right now. How close to being done with this episode are we?
We're done.
We're done?
Yeah.
With this Michelle in review, it doesn't usually end like, okay, well, now the dog is calming down. Maybe we can finish this up in a sensible fashion.
I mean, I got nothing else to say. I got through my list.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I just feel terrible because I kind of zoned out there at the end because the dog was being a dog.
That's
and
okay. I
wasn't
talk
sure
to them,
exactly
not you
what was
sometimes.
happening. Oh, that's fair. I appreciate that.
I definitely know. I can tell when you're not paying attention. I go, whatever. I'm doing this not for JD to be part of the conversation anyway.
Now I'm gonna have this whole guilt thing about how like, oh, so as long JD's only able to not interrupt her when he's just not paying attention at all.
But those are the really nice moments because then I know I can monologue and not worry about it. I appreciate when the dog interrupts because I'm like, oh, good, take this time, say all your thoughts.
Great, now I've got another complex. I appreciate it. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShutter.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShutter on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShutter.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShutter.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shutter is a production of Rat Factory Media.